from the Queensland border all the way down to the Victorian border.
There is no past history similar to this event.
In Sydney, day 16 of rain, a new east coast low bearing down on the state.
Again, we're looking at, regretfully, record-breaking rains.
Downfalls smashing parts of metro Sydney, the Hunter region, down to the Illawarra and pushing up to the Central Coast. The Hawkesbury-Nepean Valley of particular concern.
The additional rainfall leading to widespread major flooding at or greater than what we saw in March 2021.
Today, 2 bodies pulled from the rising floodwaters in Sydney's west. An investigation underway.
We suspect it is a mother and a son. The canal where the vehicle was located, it rose this morning from ankle deep to above neck height in a matter of minutes.
At least 40,000 residents across the state told to evacuate.
It just seems like kind of surreal.
I've never ever seen it like this.
Bit of panic, a bit of sadness.
But the SES concedes some residents are likely to refuse to leave their homes.
Wherever you are, follow the instructions of the SES.
Your property may be affected even though it hasn't been affected before.
They're not there for the sake of it. They're there to keep your family and your friends safe.
Warnings of damaging winds and landslides to come. Commuters told to avoid public transport.
We're going to see possible trees and power lines down, and also landslips as well, and flooding of roads.
The rain is set to ease overnight, a small reprieve from the crisis.
Even though the sun does come out, we're likely to see many of these rivers continue to experience major flooding. Even though the rain has stopped, the flood threat has not.
For now, another grim 48 hours ahead for the flood-ravaged state.
It is too dangerous out there. If it's flooded, forget it.
Gosh, some of those images. The kids in the class looking out and seeing cars come towards them. So I thought La Nina, which I'm guessing this is all a part of, was nearing its end. Is it nearing its end?
Not quite yet.
Right.
We're on the downhill slope for sure. So it peaked back in February. And generally, this sort of strength La Nina will end sort of mid-autumn-ish. So the next few weeks we should be seeing at least the signal that indicates La Nina, so temperature differences across the Pacific, that should ease off and the atmosphere should decouple. But yeah, these sorts of climate forcing events have inertia. You know, it's like trying to stop a car. You don't just touch the brake and it's over. It carries through for a while. So warmer ocean temperatures that's helping the water to evaporate more means that there's more moisture around and more cyclones and all of the rest of it.
So that warmer ocean temperature, are you saying because La Nina the temperature's higher, or do you mean in a climate change sense that the oceans are warmer and so this...
Right, so actually both. So in La Nina what's happening is that winds blowing across the Pacific from east to west push the surface of the ocean, literally push it over our side of the Pacific. And so those warmer waters are closer to Australia. That's what helps that water to evaporate. But then also in a climate changed world that we live in now, all of this weather is happening inside that context. So it's touching everything. That doesn't mean that this event is 100% due to climate change, the end, but it also doesn't mean that it wouldn't have happened without climate change. It's just a little bit more likely right now. In fact, perhaps quite a bit more.
Does that help explain why we keep hearing it's 1 in 100 years, like every year? And
actually, that's a bit of a problem. The media's taken something that we use to mean something else, really. So 1 in 100 year event means that there's about a 1% chance in any year that, say, with floods, that it would get to that height. So 1 in 1,000 means 0.1%. And that's kind of set for certain areas. And so when you're hearing like, this is now a 1 in 300 year, they've kind of done some sort of rough and said, oh, about that is what that means. But 1 in 100 years doesn't mean that you get one and then 100 years later you get...
Right.
If you take a longer look at yeah, exactly, because we've had them, right? Two in a row now in this part of New South Wales. If you take a longer look, though, say at 1,000 years long, a 1 in 100 year event should happen 10 times.
Yes.
In reality, 10 of those could happen in 11 years.
Right.
You know?
It's unlike the media, though, to take something and run with it.
It'd be crazy, wouldn't it?
I think it's time to put an end to this conversation.